On the afternoon of Saturday, February 15, 1997, at approximately 3:30 p.m., 13-year-old Billie-Jo Jenkins was brutally murdered in her foster family's garden in Hastings, East Sussex. Her foster father, Sean Jenkins, discovered her lying in a pool of blood. The UK media quickly picked up on this shocking story, and the brutal murder became headline news across the country. It's believed that the full cost of the police investigation, trials and appeals was around £10 million. Despite extensive investigations and multiple trials, Billie-Jo's case remains unsolved 27 years later. Welcome to Bad Things. As usual, we'll be looking at the timeline, the facts and the theories to determine who most likely killed Billie-Jo Jenkins. Billie-Jo was born on March 29, 1983, in East London to Deborah Barnett and Bill Jenkins. She was known as a kind and talented girl with a passion for acting. After she turned 8, Deborah could no longer care for Billie-Jo due to Bill's arrest for drug-related issues. Consequently, Billie-Jo was placed in foster care with Sean and Lois Jenkins, a family that coincidentally shared the same surname. Sean and Lois already had 4 biological daughters, Annie, Lottie, Esther and Maya. However, they had long been looking to foster a child. Lois worked as a social worker, while Sean was a teacher. The family moved to Hastings after Sean secured a position at William Parker Boys' School. They settled into a beautiful house on Lower Park Road, which appeared to be a safe environment for their daughters. The day of the incident. On February 15, 1997, it was an unusually warm day, and citizens were enjoying the sunshine in Alexandra Park, located opposite Lower Park Road. This park was often bustling with families and dog walkers enjoying nature. Lois had gone shopping with Maya and Esther. Billie-Jo wanted some extra pocket money, so she began painting the patio doors and listening to music in the back garden of her home, while Annie was helping her father wash his car at the front. Afterwards, Sean and Annie picked up Lottie from her clarinet lesson. Upon reaching home, Lottie ran upstairs to put away her clarinet. Unexpectedly, her father said they needed to go out again to buy some white spirit from a local hardware store to remove the paint splashes. The trio had returned home only for 3 minutes before getting back. However, before they reached the store, Sean realized he didn't have enough money, so they turned around and went home. Unfortunately, they were about to encounter a traumatic experience. Billie-Jo was lying face down in a pool of blood in the area where she had been painting the doors. She had suffered severe head injuries. Sean later shared his feelings about the horrific scene, saying, "It left me feeling disconnected from what I was seeing in my own home." The scene resembled a bloodbath in which poor Billie's body was lying on the patio in a place where we as a family had spent many happy times. After calling 999, Sean contacted his neighbor, Denise Lancaster, for help. She arrived before the paramedics, but found herself terrified upon witnessing the horrific scene of Billie-Jo's murder. She said her head was completely shattered. You could see her brain and you could see her skull. It was devastating. I was very scared to do anything to her. I hardly wanted to touch her. When paramedics arrived, they began working to help Billie-Jo cope with her injuries, but eventually pronounced her dead. Billie-Jo's death left many grieving for their lost loved one. It wasn't easy for them to accept that they would never see that bright young face again, especially for Lois. When Sean informed her about the incident, she quickly returned home to witness the brutal condition of her daughter. Investigation. The police handled the situation as they had at any crime scene, but failed to determine what exactly caused Billie-Jo's death. She was still clutching a paintbrush when her body was found by the family. It appeared she had been struck with an 18-inch metal tent peg. A post-mortem report revealed that her skull had been fractured. The scene contained several tools such as a hammer and pliers. However, none were determined to be murder weapons. With no clear evidence available, this case turned into a horrifying mystery. Dr. Joseph Ludwig, who visited the scene, said, "I have 26 years of experience of being a police surgeon, and this is without doubt the saddest and most brutal murder I have ever attended." A post-mortem report suggested that the incident might have been staged by a dangerous offender, as Billie-Jo had been struck at least 5 times on the head. Additionally, Denise Lancaster noted that Billie-Jo's legs were positioned unusually close together. The attacker had undoubtedly chosen an extremely brutal method to commit the crime. The police initially suspected a white man known as Mr. B, who was reported to have a scar or birthmark across his face. It was suggested that he had been suffering from serious mental illness for years. Before the incident occurred, a rapid response team attempted to section him, but failed to locate him. However, he was caught later after the incident, but was released from custody and subsequently taken into psychiatric care. On February 18th, 3 days after the murder, police appealed to the public for any information about the case. Sean read a prepared statement explaining how devastated the family was following that day. He said, "Billie-Jo was loving and supportive of her 4 sisters. She was also buoyant, articulate, quick to learn, loud, and fun-loving. As parents, our sadness drives us to work closely with the police to find her killer. We therefore appeal to anyone who thinks they have any information about this crime to contact the police." Another man became a suspect, but was ruled out due to a lack of official statements proving his involvement. However, the following shocking arrest occurred. It was Billie-Jo's foster father, Sean Jenkins. The forensic evidence against him consisted of 158 tiny spots of victim blood found on his fleece jacket that he was wearing on the day of the murder. Sean attempted to justify this by claiming that when he helped his daughter after she sustained injuries, there had been a fine spray of blood. However, investigations and interviews led to his conviction. In July 1998, Sean Jenkins was sentenced to life imprisonment. However, in an unexpected turn of events, he was acquitted in February 2006 after jurors failed to reach a majority verdict. What once appeared to be a solved case has now turned into an unresolved mystery that remains open today. Do you have any theories? Let's share them in the comments before we discuss ours. While there's no official report, several theories may shed light on who most likely killed Billie-Jo Jenkins. First theory, foster father. Even though he was acquitted, Sean Jenkins is still viewed with suspicion. While he seemed friendly in the community, he had a darker side. Allegations came to light that he misrepresented his qualifications to get a job at William Parker Boys' School. Family members also shared negative opinions about his character. Lois said, "I think he felt insecure. I never thought his behavior was normal, but I got used to it. I ended up feeling sorry for him, as I felt he was a victim of emotions that he couldn't control." Second theory, mentally ill man. The second theory suggests that Billie-Jo had been brutally murdered by Mr. B, a mentally ill man mentioned earlier. Before the murder, the Jenkins family had concerns about their neighborhood, feeling uneasy due to prowlers and unsettling phone calls since January. After his arrest, Mr. B showed disturbing behavior, like holding a piece of a blue plastic bag up to his nose to keep out germs. Police found similar material lodged in Billie-Jo's nostrils, but there's no official evidence linking him directly to her murder. Samantha Mott from Chelmsford recalled seeing Mr. B just minutes before an ambulance passed by while she was walking through Alexandra Park, which is across from the Jenkins home. She said, "He stared at us as we walked by. He was rubbing his nose and making a snorting noise. It made me feel uncomfortable." According to an article in The Guardian, police had a hard time arresting Mr. B 2 days after Billie-Jo's murder when he violently attacked an officer, grabbing her throat and kicking her shin. This showed aggressive behavior that suggested he could be capable of such violence. Lottie also told the police that she saw their side gate closed before they left to go shopping for hardware, but it was open when they returned. This raised the possibility that an outsider, possibly Mr. B, had the opportunity to commit the crime. Third theory, M25 rapist. In April 2012, Sean asked for Billie-Jo's case to be reopened after reports linked her murder to Antoni Imiela, known as the M25 rapist. Imiela lived about 20 miles from Billie-Jo's home during that time and had already been in prison for assaults on women and girls, including some as young as 10, in the M25 area between 2001 and 2002, when Sean made his request. Last theory, serial killer. Our last theory suggests that a serial killer, specifically Levi Belfield, might be involved. It's unlikely that a random opportunistic killer would commit such a brutal murder of a 13-year-old in just 3 minutes. Serial killers usually have patterns and often target specific types of victims. Belfield was convicted of murdering 13-year-old Millie Dowler. The Dowler family has said that the public's view of Belfield didn't fully show who he really was or how serious his crimes were. This makes this last theory stronger, especially since both victims were around the same age and might have been chosen for similar reasons. We believe the first theory that says Sean Jenkins was responsible. This theory aligns with the strong evidence and statements we've reviewed, especially when compared to the other theories. It's difficult to believe that an outsider, even a professional killer, could have murdered Billie-Jo and cleaned up in just 3 minutes. Sean likely took advantage of Billie-Jo's isolation at home, and he may have even planned the attack in advance. Billie-Jo's close friend, Holly, mentioned that she had offered to help Billie-Jo paint the doors that day. However, Sean claimed Billie-Jo was supposed to visit her biological father that weekend, which prevented Holly from joining her. We know that the forensic report revealed blood splatters on Sean's jacket. Prosecutor Nicholas Hillard dismissed the theory that blood on Sean's jacket was from trying to help Billie-Jo, stating, "Just as the blood had flown onto the defendant's clothing, so had pieces of Billy's flesh." Nicholas also noted that Sean's account to the police didn't align with his claimed timeline of being in the house before heading to the hardware store. Sean had a history of violence, particularly within his family. After the murder, Lois Jenkins shared her fear of his temper, saying, "I first became aware of Sean's temper about 3 weeks before our marriage. He lost his temper and slapped me around my face. A few weeks after the marriage, he had a violent outburst and slapped me again. I was surprised at how volatile he was and felt frightened. When he lost his temper, he never shouted. He would just lose it, snap, and in a few moments he would be back to normal." The court heard testimony from Peter Gamester, a family friend, who recalled an incident in which Sean kicked Billie-Jo while they were on holiday in France. He described the kick as aggressive and clearly intended to hurt her. Peter also mentioned that Sean had written notes about his odd behavior, attempting to justify his actions. Additionally, Billie-Jo's friend Holly revealed a secret Billie-Jo had confided in her, asking her not to tell anyone. Holly said she had scratches on her neck and bruises on her face, and we asked her how she had got them. She said Sean was smacking Buster, her dog, and when she objected, he had pinned her against a wall and scratched her face. Even though Sean was acquitted and released from prison, the government hadn't offered him any compensation for his time behind bars. He sought £500,000, but needed to prove he was clearly innocent to receive that amount. Given all the evidence and statements we have reviewed, we think Sean likely killed Billie-Jo shortly after he got home around 3 p.m. He then went to the shop, intentionally taking a longer route to create an alibi for himself. What do you think of this analysis? Did we miss anything? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.